On June 15th, 2025, Desmond Bane was traded to the Orlando Magic in exchange for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony and 4 unprotected first round picks. Orlando got their offensive weapon that they've been looking for, which I mentioned in the last video. Memphis decided to change their core of star players and acquire assets that they can use to draft young players or use as trade assets. I think the latter is more likely going to happen. But I'll talk about Orlando first. This year they were great defensively with a defensive rating of 109.6, which was also the second best defensive rating in the past 3 seasons, so there were no issues on that end of the floor. However, they were lacking offensively, and they actually had the 4th worst offense in the league, so there was very little hope they were going to go far in the playoffs, especially when facing Boston in the first round. Also, no matter how good your defense is, how are you going to win if you can't score? They ended up getting gentlemen swept against the Celtics, which put an end to a mildly disappointing season. And that's why they pulled the trigger on that trade. Desmond Bane is 26 years old, so he'll enter his prime in a couple of seasons, and this year he averaged around 20 points, 6 rebounds and 5 assists on good efficiency, 48.4% from the field and 39.2% from 3. Bringing in a sharpshooter will space the floor and do wonders for the Magic offense in my opinion. He also made 41.2% of his threes from above the break, so he could potentially run pick and pops, and his presence on the court will stretch the defense and create driving lanes for Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. With that said, do I think the Magic will be the number 1 seed and win a title next year? No, I don't. But it's a step in the right direction, and I do expect them to make as much noise as the Pistons did this year. And who knows, maybe they'll surprise us and end up in the top 4 in the East. Let's move on to the Grizzlies now. Slightly different approach here. Instead of bringing in a player to help them get better, they got rid of a good scorer who's on the exact same timeline as Ja Morant, their star player. The front office deemed that changes needed to be made, and I can see where they're coming from, as the Grizzlies have not gone past the second round in the playoffs since they drafted Triple J, Ja and Bane. Their best run was 3 years ago in 2022, where they beat the Timberwolves in the first round and then lost to the Warriors in 6, putting up a good fight. It's unfortunate things didn't work out in Memphis because most people can agree that they were a fun team to watch. Also, they've drafted good players in the past couple of seasons that some thought were going to help the Grizzlies the same way Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams helped OKC. I mean, Memphis drafted Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, Gigi Jackson. Those guys are good contributors, and it's unfortunate it didn't work out. So what's next? I believe they're going to use the picks that they got in the trade to go out and get another star player, because I don't think they'll sign a big name in free agency. Most star players who will only be available if they decline their player options are too old or simply not a good fit. For example, Kyrie Irving, obviously an incredible player, but a terrible fit next to Ja. Same thing with James Harden and Chris Middleton, they're too old. And then the last name left in that category is Julius Randle, but he would be a terrible fit too. That's why a trade seems more likely. Who they'll trade for, however, remains a mystery. Thanks for watching, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video.